I wasn't anxiously anticipating the Snyder Cut, but there's always a fairly good chance of my watching it. Like, why not? I do like when creators can just completely put themselves into the work. When he's allowed, Zack Snyder is great at it. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. His output, in my mind, is comparable to Tim Burton's. Neither of them likes to compromise, and that turns out wonderfully when they're creating their own material or the subject matter they're working with is just like naturally suited to their tastes. I like it less when they impose those tastes on something that's not very compatible. It's why I love things like Sucker Punch, Watchmen, Alice in Wonderland, and The Corpse Bride. All of those were either created by their directors or adapted from works that clearly resonated with their psyches. It's also why I think that Snyder and Burton were not the people to make movies about Superman and Batman, respectively. They weren't necessarily bad movies in an abstract way, but they weren't great at focusing on those characters' essential natures. And while Justice League falls more into the ill-fitting category for Snyder, he nonetheless made a gorgeous movie that flowed well, and even if I hadn't enjoyed it more than I expected to, which wasn't at a nadir to begin with, I would have supported the realization of that vision anyway. In another sense, I could compare him with George Lucas. I legitimately love how that dude is such a rarity because he maintains his auteur nature even when he's a vastly powerful figure in the Hollywood machine. Like that kind of thing, it's almost impossible. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Spielberg's like wonderful, but that dude really seems like someone who has to sometimes make calculated and fairly elegant compromises to like fully make his position work for everyone. George Lucas never really seemed to do that. He just said, "Yeah, fuck off. I've got this." I mean, he's a nicer dude, but like he just said, "I've got this," and like people believed him, and I believe him too. But yeah, Snyder has a bit of that, and both of them have been praised for things like concepts and visuals, even by people who derogate their writing. I don't think either of them is really bad at that, but part of the reason for why Lucas dwells deep in my heart, where Snyder barely ever approaches, is because I personally like Lucas's inclinations more. That's on me. But I still appreciate when those two and others of similar vision can realize their ideas to their full satisfaction, and the Snyder Cut really seems to do that at the very least.